Hello once again, thanks for watching. This is yet another attempt to help serve my fellow people, and this is about how to do healthier grocery shopping in a typical supermarket. It should be no surprise that a lot of unhealthiness in people's lives comes from the food they eat. Uh, there are reasons why there is so much obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and other related issues in people's lives. Not all of it can be blamed entirely on food. Some of it is psychological in nature, but food is a big part of our lives and our health. So, a lot of people just don't know exactly what they're putting in their bodies and how it affects them. There's a lot of marketing involved in food products and packaging to make people think that they're getting something healthy and not that something that's not that bad for you, but there's some shady stuff in a lot of the things that people are consuming, both in food and media. But for this video, we'll stick to the food aspect. So I've taken a typical grocery store that I frequent regularly, and I'm going to show you through detailed photographs I've taken a lot of the unhealthier ingredients and quantities of ingredients. Some ingredients aren't inherently unhealthy, it's just there's a lot of sodium and sugar in a lot of the products that people are buying, and other things as well. But just to show you that sodium and sugar aren't inherently terrible for you, but in certain quantities they are, because you have blood sugar and salt in your body already, but just different levels of them can be very unhealthy if they go too high. And that's what a lot of people are doing and not really knowing or considering that. And again, there are a lot of other ingredients too. We don't have time to get into all of them. There are too many. They're constantly coming up with new artificial sweeteners and additives and preservatives and ingredients. But we'll touch on some of the big points today. And I'll show some of these pictures. I have removed, as much as possible, specific brand names so as not to indict anyone in particular. This is really a massive industry issue, and I see positive progress towards healthier options and people becoming more aware of what they're putting in their bodies to a degree. Some people still have a lot of work to do. We all have a lot of work to do, but this is my attempt to help other people along their paths and become healthier in what they're consuming. Grocery stores tend to be laid out in a similar fashion, though there is variety in each one, of course. But let's start out with the positive aspects. This is the healthiest section in the grocery store by far. Fruits and vegetables, naturally grown. Yes, there are pesticides and they're genetically modified in some cases, but generally this is the best section you want to be shopping in. For plant-based, the highest vitamin content, although some of them have been genetically modified to have really not much nutritional content, which is unfortunate. So you really have to do your homework. Starting out in this aisle, the organic is the best option for you to get. However, that can be a little too expensive for some people. So I understand that obviously budget's an issue for all of us. So if you don't get organic, it's not the worst thing. It's still better than eating a lot of the other things in the grocery store. But again, you'll notice in some of the sections here, in like the lettuce aisle or the lettuce section, where there's a bunch of packaged lettuce and other vegetables as well, with things like chopped up carrots and cabbage, cauliflower, things like that. Now, if you look in depth at the packaging on some of the salads and the vegetables, like chopped up carrots and cauliflower and broccolis and lettuces, things like that, you're going to see that there is not a lot of vitamins and nutritional content to some of these where you would think there would be. It's like they've been genetically modified to just be filler, to just be neutral, not negative. There's not to say there's anything bad about eating these except for potentially pesticides, but it's some of these fruits and vegetables should have a higher vitamin content than they appear to have that's listed on a lot of these packages, which I find rather suspicious. A lot of these gigantic, factory farms, they don't always have people's healthiest, intentions in mind. A lot of them are more focused around profits rather than people. And there's been a lot of shenanigans behind the scenes, but we're not going to get into all of that right now. But just pointing out, just putting this in your minds is generally the healthiest option for most people. The next healthy aspect that I do is drinking clean water. Now, a lot of people are not aware of a lot of the chemicals in the water that they're drinking. Sometimes they are aware of them, but they've been led to believe that, they're actually healthy for you, such as in the case of fluoride and other things. But if you really, again, go do your homework and really think for yourself, you're going to wonder why, if fluoride is so good for you, it's claimed to be good for your teeth, but if that's the case, then why aren't you just swishing it in your mouth? Instead, you're drinking it, and it's going into the rest of your body too. And it's actually an industrial byproduct from the aluminum industry, and it leaches into your pineal gland, the bloodstream, so it goes everywhere, really. So it's really not the healthiest thing. And there are a lot of other chemicals in people's tap water, and a lot of the most famous water filters that I won't say by name. They just don't do as good a job as is necessary to have the best, cleanest water. So I find, purified water or, really good quality spring water is good too. But I go to this machine that they have that dispenses purified water, and I reuse my own plastic bottles. I don't like that. A lot of people are going through individual plastic water bottles like they're going out of style. And I know that some people are recycling them, but not all of them are getting recycled. There are still tons of them ending up in landfills and our waterways, and again, leaching chemicals everywhere. There's plenty of documents and documentation on the invasion of plastics into our food and ecosystems, and therefore our bodies as well. So that's unhealthy. And a lot of these packages, people are becoming more aware of, BPA is now known to be, leaching chemicals into people's food through these containers that they're packaged in. So now you'll find a lot of packages specifically promote that they're not made with BPA, which is good. So this is, again, a step that I recommend taking for drinking the best quality water, unless you have your own whole house water filter or reverse osmosis filter at home. Again, you have to maintain that, and this is pretty cheap for me. It's about 39 cents a gallon. And, again, I'm sure some people would think, that adds up over time, but so too do all the chemicals in your body. So for me, I find it worth it's a relatively small price to pay. So I refill these gallon water jugs, about 5 at a time, for myself, and that lasts me about a week, give or take. And while we're on the more positive aspects of the grocery shopping experience, here's one of the sections. There are a few of these clearance sections located throughout the store, depending on which particular area you're in, and they're sometimes hidden in the back areas, but the clearance section, a lot of discounted items, which I find great deals on all the time. Not every trip. Sometimes I find a lot of stuff, other times nothing really, but I always make a trip here into the various sections where they have pretty discounted items that are either almost expired or just, they're trying to clear out inventory. So I find a lot of great deals in these sections rather frequently. Now we're going to start to get into the less healthy parts of the grocery store experience, which are numerous. This aisle I avoid completely. I used to drink soda. I'm sure a lot of us have grown up on it. I know some babies are given soda in their bottles, which is really unfortunate and unhealthy. And look, it's packaged the way it is to attract your attention. It's colorful, it's stylish, a lot of these packages designed to grab your attention, and obviously the contents inside are rather addictive as well. The sugar content in this aisle alone is off the chart, and other artificial sweeteners and substitutes. This once you do your homework and once you learn that the stuff that you're putting in your body is harming you and having dramatic effects on your life And then if you actually decide to cut it out, stop ingesting it, and you feel a lot healthier, have more energy, because a lot of this stuff is a quick fix for energy, but then there's the infamous sugar crash. So it'll bring you up for a little bit and then take you down very quickly. So I avoid this aisle. I don't even go in here anymore. I know a lot of people, this is, their bread and butter, or, they drink this every day. And again, just because it's called diet or zero, sugar, whatever, does not mean it's healthy. A lot of times the artificial sweeteners that they put in there have, negative effects as well. Again, you do your homework on these aspartames and sucraloses. They're not healthy for people. Just because there's no sugar doesn't mean it's healthy. And sugar is, not healthy in large doses, which a lot of these unfortunately have. And then again, you're talking about the environmental waste. A lot of these plastic bottles end up, again, in landfills and oceans, and again, and invariably in our bodies as well. So I know some people are going to see this as a huge sacrifice and they're not willing to give up their soda. But honestly, if you make the sacrifice, you'll discover it's not really a sacrifice, it's actually a gain. Again, a lot of people probably don't think of it that way right now. But everyone has their own journeys, and a lot of people have yet to learn just how unhealthy they're eating and drinking. Speaking of deceptive marketing, so this is a typical energy sports drink. It's not to say that it can't serve some purpose and there can't be some positive aspect of these, like electrolytes and a little bit of vitamins to it. But when you start looking at the sugar content, look at the sugar content at so many of these products, and you will see a trend. There is so much sugar. This particular one, 21 grams of sugar, and that's, as you can see, approximately 41% of this daily value. But you will notice another thing throughout a lot of these pictures where it says total sugars. There's often a zero, or there's no percentage listed. And well, that's because there really is no recommended value for sugar. You'll see there's total sugars, added sugars. There are different categories that they've broken up to for sugar. Anyway, sugars and salts are going to see a big trend in terms of the numbers here. So this particular one's 41% or 21 grams. You'll see this is another one sold as like a smart water. That's not the actual brand, but it's sold as a healthy water. And look, yes, there's a reasonable amount of vitamins in this. But again, if you look at the sugar content, 27 grams. In this one is 54%. So just one of these will give you over half of your recommended sugar content, and that's still too much by my count. I try to consume as little sugar as possible. It's an inflammatory, and it's really, yes, there is natural blood sugar, but people are getting way too much in a lot of the things that they're drinking and eating. This doesn't even count all the candy. I completely avoid the candy aisle as well. Yeah, I don't even miss this stuff anymore, honestly. At first you may miss it. You may feel like, this was giving me happiness, a pleasure boost to your brain. When you consume these things, they're familiar, they taste good, but I don't miss them anymore after years of not eating this stuff. And I didn't miss it a lot sooner than that. It didn't take me very long at all to not miss this stuff. As soon as you learn that you're poisoning yourself with these things, you can really drop them right away and not feel bad about it at all. But a lot of people just don't know they're poisoning themselves or care. This is another one. Energy drinks are really a prime offender. This one, again, look, you can see it has vitamins and minerals in it, good amounts, but then you go down to the ingredients. It's got artificial flavors, preservatives, benzoic acid, dyes, things that you don't want in your body. Yes, it'll boost your energy, but at what cost? Really, it'll kill your energy over time because it'll kill you slowly. Look at the sugar content on this. One can of an energy drink, 63 grams, 126% of your daily value. And people drink multiple ones of these a day, which they're just killing themselves quicker. So you may be getting more energy, but you're going to die sooner. So then you're not going to have any energy at all. These are a really big offender. Caffeine as well, People are boosting their caffeine levels, for quick fixes, but ultimately that you pay a penalty in the long run. Caffeine is a drug, like anything else, you can be addicted to it, and some people crash hard in withdrawal from that. Here's coffee, one of the most consumed beverages in the world. And this is very well known, one of the most consumed ones. And this is on these types of labels, it's not as obvious too, because this particular layout makes it a little bit harder to see the percentages, and it's not lined up, so you have to read it more like a text or a book. And here, if you look, and you'll find total sugars 46 grams, includes 32 grams of added sugar for 64% of your daily value. And this is a relatively small bottle. And again, people down coffee all day long. So if they're drinking multiple ones of these a day, that's a lot of sugar, and caffeine obviously as well. So coffee is another big one that people are drinking all day and really aren't considering. Some of them are using artificial ingredients and sweeteners, and they're thinking, oh, it's coffee, it's not bad for you, but man, they can add a ton of stuff that makes it really unhealthy. So yeah, if you consume coffee in small quantities, not that bad for you, but some people are drinking it down like water, and water is really a healthier beverage. This is another beverage this is more deceptive, because some people are going to think this is so healthy. It's apple juice. It's all natural. But again, there's sugar. There's natural sugar, of course. Eating apples or fruits, you're going to get natural sugars. That's not too bad. Again, in certain quantities, it's not bad. But 27 grams of sugar in this per serving. And we're going to get into servings too, because you're going to see that can be really deceptive. They can show a pretty small percentage of the quantity, but you'll look up at the servings, and it's a very small serving size. No one is going to drink this entire container of apple juice in one sitting. But if you add this up, 27 grams of sugar in 8 servings, that's 216 grams of sugar in this whole thing. Again, yes, it has some good quantity of vitamin C, so it's not entirely negative, but it's like a lot of these, it's negativity mixed with positivity. And oftentimes the positivity is not going to outweigh the negative consequences that come from the unhealthy ingredients that are in a lot of these products. And again, it's pretty deceptive when you have something like seemingly healthy like apple juice, and it's loaded with sugar, so it's sort of been weaponized in a sense. Here's another juice beverage that has a good health aspect to it in terms of vitamins. It's a vegetable-based, very well-known tomato-based drink. And look, as you can see, it's got some vitamin A, it's got a little bit of potassium, good vitamin C content. Here it's the sodium that is significant. Again, no one's probably going to drink this whole thing in one sitting, but it's got 28% recommended daily sodium intake in 6 servings. So if you multiply the sodium content by the serving size, then you get the total amount in the container, which is 168% of your recommended daily sodium intake. So a serving size for this is 8 fluid ounces, which someone could easily drink. And obviously some people are going to be drinking multiple servings of this. There is a better version of this product, a healthier version with reduced sodium, which I definitely get and recommend if you're going to do that. This one only has 6% in 8 fluid ounces of the recommended daily sodium intake. That is significantly less than the full sodium version that people are getting. And look, still getting good vitamins and nutrients. This is a much better quantity. When you can go for something that's lower sodium, that's always the way to go. And this is basically the same product. And so yeah, it may not be as flavorful, but it's still flavorful. So you may be, your taste buds may be affected after consuming so much sodium for so long. You may think something with less sodium, oh, well, that's just not flavorful, so that's not as good. But it's sure healthier for you, I guarantee. And again, the body naturally needs and uses salt. We're electromagnetic beings, and salt is a medium for, it's a conduit. So again, salt is not inherently unhealthy, but in the quantities that people are consuming it, yeah, it is. Here's a perfect example. Look at the ingredients. This has vegetables: broccoli, Brussels sprouts, red cabbage, carrots, snow peas. This is a pre-made packet of teriyaki vegetables, which, look, normally you would think, oh, vegetables, totally healthy. But look at the quantities of nutrients here. It's really low. You don't see any vitamin C, A, Z, there's zero D. They don't even list other vitamins, and where they have D, it's listed as 0. So I don't even know why they bother listing that. But look, this is relatively useless, though it's made to look like, oh yeah, it's healthy for you, but really you're not getting much of anything. And then look at the sodium content, as 20% of your recommended daily value times 3 in the whole container, because this has a sauce packet in it which has sodium. The vegetables themselves don't have any, but this again is a package that one could easily eat the whole thing by themselves if that's all you're going to eat. If you mix it with other things, rice or noodles, it's gonna, there's gonna be more filling to it, so you're not gonna eat the whole thing. But if you eat this entire package with the sauce included, that's gonna have 60% of your recommended daily sodium intake. And that's considerable. And again, when you couple that with the really low amount of nutritional content that otherwise vegetables should have, I don't even buy these anymore. It's relatively useless in terms of nutrition, and it has a negative aspect when you consider all the sodium to it. So this is a perfect example how food has kind of been deceptively weaponized. Even things that are going to seem like they're healthy aren't really necessarily, or if they're somewhat healthy, they're going to have a negative side effect to them, like a lot of sugar, salt, artificial ingredients. Here you'll see modified food starch. There's a huge argument about, modified, is it good or bad? Like anything else, it all depends. It can be done in a more positive way, but it can also be done in a negative way. And as you can see here, there's some shadiness to a lot of this. It's, with all the marketing and the deception. So really, I don't trust it in this food. I always err on the side of, okay, this really isn't done in my best interest a lot of the time. So, why would they change it in that case all of a sudden? So here we have, again, something that would seem to be perfectly healthy: pomegranate seeds. I love them, they're delicious. But again, if you look at the percentage of vitamins and minerals to the sugar content, it's really lopsided. There's very little nutritional value to this, and in the whole container, 27 grams of sugar again. So really this is sort of just a cup of sugar with some pomegranate seeds in it. And it may be delicious, but what health are you getting from it? It's gonna boost your energy for a minute, and then you're gonna crash without getting any of the vitamins and minerals that fruit is known to have. So again, more deception, I feel. And again, a plastic container that invariably a lot of people are not going to recycle, and it's going to be more pollution. So I don't buy this. The more you learn, the more you discern. The more you're discerning you become, the less things you buy that you used to think you couldn't live without. And then you learn that, wait a second, they're actually not good for me. And then you, by choice, don't consume them anymore. Now here we are in another big offending aisle, the soup aisle. It's just so much sodium added to these. Here's another example, modified. You can argue about that all day long, but you'll see the trend here where a lot of this is not done in people's best interests. It's done for a bottom line, or money, profit. Here's another soup, typical percentages here. Again, this can is not large, but if you look at the sodium content, 55% for the sodium, the recommended daily allowance, and that's half of your daily allowance. So if all you eat is 2 cans of this soup, which is pretty small, you're already over your sodium content for the day. And again, it's very arbitrary because people are different sizes and have different activities and lives and other things, factors involved. So your water intake as well as a factor. So again, these are just general numbers that are given, but again, you'll notice that the quantity of this it's a small can, and in this one small can you're getting half of this recommended sodium content. Here is another well-known maker of soup that again claims to be very healthy, all natural ingredients, but again, look at the sodium content, 62% in one can. Now, I'm sure there are some people who are only going to eat half of the can, either sharing it with someone or saving it for leftovers. But a lot of people are going to be able to eat a whole can of this and either still be hungry or that's going to be their meal. And in doing so, again, they're getting over half of their daily recommended sodium intake. So this is another one where just because a label seems to be healthy, oh, all natural ingredients, sometimes that can be hiding something still unhealthy and deceptive in it. So we talked about looking at serving sizes and having to do a little bit of math. You have to be food literate and know a little bit of basic, general math as well. You don't have to be exact, but this is a relatively small container of kimchi, which I know a lot of people aren't even going to get. But kimchi's delicious. Well, for some people, I'm sure it's not, but I actually like the taste of it. It's very flavorful, strong, a little spicy, but it has a ton of sodium in it. And again, this is a relatively healthier brand of products, all in terms of mostly natural ingredients. But again, the sodium content and other things can be a little unhealthy. And here you'll see, sodium 12%. If you just look at that, 12%, that's not a lot. But you have to multiply that by 17 servings in this entire container, which adds up. Now again, I know no one is going to eat this whole container, though you could physically. I mean, some people could obviously, but kimchi is generally more of a side or a topping for things. But in the whole container, just be aware there's 204% of your daily recommended sodium intake in this. Now, speaking of servings, this is a really extreme example of how deceptive the percentages and serving sizes can be. Now, this package is a breading, so you're not going to just eat it out of the packaging. I mean, maybe someone does, but it's not really what it's recommended for. This is for coating things and cooking them, in this as a coating on the outside for a breading, a seasoning, a spice mix. Notice the ingredients are all natural. That's fine. Spices and spices and flavoring. But and if you look at the sodium, it says, only 3% daily value. That's not bad. But then look at the servings in this container. 943 servings in this. So if you use this entire package for a meal that has 2,800% daily recommended sodium in it, that's 2,800. And that's a lot, obviously. I doubt anyone is going to, if they're using this as directed and coating things with it, they're not going to be eating this entire package themselves. They may over time, but still, look at how deceptive it is when you put a really small percentage of the sodium intake, but if you multiply that by 943, that's a lot. Now, you really have to look in multiple places. You have to look at the ingredients, the percentages, the servings, the nutritional factor. So I hope you're able to see that some of this is really not healthy for people. Grocery stores are full of a lot of products that really aren't great for you. There is some, you gotta do your homework, gotta be food literate, read the packages, and I know that's gonna be tedious for some people, they're not gonna like that, but again, knowing what you're putting in your body is pretty important. What you put in your body is part of you, and a lot of people just aren't aware what they're doing to themselves. And some people are and just, don't care. They think it's worth the sacrifice. But ultimately, people are able to live a lot longer if they were to consume healthier food, drink, media. And so this is I see it as a public health service trying to help people live longer, happier, healthier lives by showing them that a lot of what they're doing isn't in their best interest. Now, and I personally have an even more restricted diet than a lot of other people by choice. I used to be an omnivore. I would eat everything. But again, the more I learned, the more discerning I became. And now I've radically changed my diet as my information has changed. And I cannot tell you what to eat or drink or what not to eat or drink. But I can tell you that the more you learn, you will change yourself in terms of what you consume. And my personal journey, I've become more vegan and gluten-free, which I know, Some people, think that's terrible. Again, there are so many different kinds of diets out there. There isn't just one for everyone. It's not one size fits all. There are really unhealthy ways of being vegan. Like if all you did was eat chips and soda, yeah, that's vegan, but it's not healthy. So you really have to be more discerning. And again, that's not to say that some animal products are terrible either. That can be done in a healthy and nutritious and loving way as well, respectful as well. But a lot of the times it's not. Again, I'm not here telling anyone what to eat or not eat or how to do that. But notice there is a trend. You will notice that there are a lot more products that are geared towards plant-based eating. There's a lot more gluten-free options now. But again, it's case by case, person by person, and no one can control what you consume more than you. So again, I find as healthy and natural eating as possible, things that are coming directly from the earth with minimal to no processing is the healthiest option. And really, most of us are consuming plant-based things anyway. If you think about all the alcohol that's made, it all comes from plants. Grapes, grains, potatoes, tequila comes from agave, gin uses juniper berries. So a lot of people are consuming plants without even realizing how much they're consuming them. And consuming plants in alcohol form is not the healthiest way of consuming them. That's very processed, and you want them. The healthiest way is from the plant, from the ground, as natural as possible. No pesticides or anything like that, if possible. And if you do get pesticide foods, just wash them thoroughly. It's not nice sometimes because I don't eat a lot of the things anymore that I really like to eat. I really like eating a lot of fruits that I don't eat anymore because things like raspberries and blackberries have these tiny little ridges in them where you're going to get pesticides trapped in there no matter how you clean them. And a lot of people are cleaning them with water that's tainted as well, so you're cleaning something off with something else that's sort of tainted as well a lot of the time. So again, the healthiest way to go is organic, which is it's a lot of the time out of people's price range. So yeah, it can be a real challenge changing your diet and changing what you're consuming. You feel like you're missing out. You feel like you're sacrificing. So that's why really it's up to you entirely. I can't tell you what to do or what not to do. This is a really general guide or presentation showing just how much unhealthy stuff is hidden in our food and drink and how it's affecting people. It really becomes no surprise when you start seeing all this, when you become more food literate, so to speak. It becomes quite obvious where a lot of people's health problems come from. It's obvious it comes from a lot of what they're consuming. And a lot of that is media-based as well, but in this case we're talking specifically with what they're putting in their mouths. So this is a basic guide to healthier grocery store shopping, sort of showing some people what to do and what not to do. Again, we all still have work to do, but if you haven't learned some of these things, I hope this has helped awaken you to maybe some of the health issues in your life and how changing your diet can really improve them. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, as Hippocrates said. A lot of doctors seem to have forgotten that, even though they take a Hippocratic oath. They seem to think that drugs are the best medicine. A lot of them are paid to think that and manipulated through their education system to think that. But, food and drink is something that people consume every day. So if you change that, you're going to change yourself in very due course, very quickly. So I know this has helped some people out there become more discerning and learn to do things a little bit healthier than they've been doing. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share with others if you feel like they will get some value out of this as well. Take care. Until next time, peace, love, and light.